Traveling a lot means you have money, it doesn't mean you're cultured. A lot of people seem to think traveling makes you cultured, it doesn't. It makes you a tourist. If you go someplace for a visit, applaud yourself for being adventurous for a few days, only to return to the same food, same music, same life, and habits you've always had, you've not really learned or gained anything. The poor person, without the exciting travel photos, who cooks that food and finds that culture nearby and lives it regularly along with many others, is far more cultured. Edit. This is an argument against the statement I travel a lot therefore I am cultured. This does not mean that you can't experience culture traveling, or use traveling to do so. It means that traveling does not prove culture. There's a lot of people who join the two. Traveling means you're cultured, and if you haven't traveled you're not cultured, which is just not true. I disagree. You can return to a normal lifestyle and still be cultured, you don't need to change your lifestyle to reflect your new cultural understanding and immersion. This just seems like a bitter post. Travel is amazing for your own development, also doesn't mean you have money. I spent 3 months road tripping the USA and spend less than $5,000. Traveling a lot. For a few days, only to return to the same food, same music, same life. Doesn't sound like traveling a lot. I will never understand people pretending you are a culture just for traveling. The majority of people travel just to see famous locations, eat some different food and relax. You don't become a more interesting person for seeing the Eiffel Tower in person and eating an authentic croissant, you just become someone who has been to Paris. It means that traveling does not prove culture. Well, that is just logical. Rarely does doing X just magically make you Y. However, traveling tends to provide one insight, whether one is a tourist or not. I completely disagree. Take my upvote. Depends on where you travel and what you do when you're there. Traveling to fancy international hotels and getting massages/laying on the beach non-stop won't teach you much. Or it mean you were born in a landlocked country. I travel a lot and I don't stay in the tourist ghettos/resorts, does it make me a man of culture? I don't care because I don't have a inflated ego and a Instagram account. Or your family is poor but in the military so you travel a lot. I've lived in 14 different countries from anywhere between 3 months and a year. Been to 50 plus. I can only really say I've been familiarized in the culture of 8 maybe 9 countries. I'm not wealthy, and I've met wealthy people that are both more cultured than me in a shorter amount of time and people rich and poor that didn't bother to learn a single thing about the country they were visiting. This is unpopular so here's my upvote. That being said, traveling whether it means you have money or not makes you automatically cultured because it lightens the density of your skull. Even the experience of connecting flights, in a foreign airport, dealing with customs and looking out of your taxi window on your way to your hotel opens up your mind to a different form of life that your mind couldn't have conjured from your little acreage on Earth. It follows that you're exposed to a different culture, a different way of doing things, speaking and living. That changes you. Whether you're hitchhiking or private jet flying. It expands your worldview and that's what being cultured means. You don't need that much money to travel tbh, you just gotta budget and hunt for deals. I traveled more as a broke college kid than I do now when I am actually making good money. I think you mean being a tourist doesn't make you cultured. Maybe, but even if you're a tourist, it still gives you exposure to parts of the world you'd otherwise wouldn't be able to see, taste, touch, hear, and feel. A picture is worth 1,000 words, but being somewhere else like Sydney in August for example, you see people in winter coats as you come out of the airport. Like, what? It's winter time? Even every tourist gets to experience details like that. I've traveled because I'm an immigrant and we immigrated through military service. We also have family who are immigrants in Australia, Canada, Italy, and various states in the United States. We have traveled to each other to visit. People who travel and make it their whole identity annoy the crap out of me, especially when they travel to places like my native country and talk about how great it was at their expensive resort and guided tours when those of us who left that country, left because of the extreme poverty, corrupt government, and oppression. Yeah, you saw beautiful jungles and wild animals. Did you also see my cousin making your clothes for a paycheck of $4 a day? Thank you. I've always wanted to travel, and I especially wanted to study abroad, but my family never took us on vacations as a kid and studying abroad was too expensive for me. When I tell people I've never been out of the country, they look at me like I'm some uneducated heathen, but it's just like, come on man, that shit is expensive. Actually, now, for the first time in my life, I'm 25, I finally have enough money to travel after having a full-time job for a year and a half. My boyfriend and I were actually planning to go visit his parents in Thailand this summer. Then COVID hit. And I guess I'm not going to be traveling anywhere for a while. You don't need money to travel. Having an opinion, popular or not, doesn't make it valid. If you need validation about how cultured you are, it's just your entitlement showing. Not every person who has traveled is cultured. But almost every person who is cultured has traveled. This post is dumb lol. Depends on the type of traveling and frequency. Traveling once a month for business is different from once a year for pleasure. Both are feasible on a modest income. Traveling once a month for pleasure or daily for business are generally big bucks territory. I think most people would have the money to travel a little if that's what they prioritize their money for. Obviously not all people, but we aren't wealthy by any means and we travel once or twice a year. Everyone our age goes out to the bars and goes out to eat and they wonder why they're broke. We save and cook and drink at home. We drive nice enough cars, but they're both over 10 years old. We do that so we can go experience other countries and cultures as often as possible. Does that make me more cultured than someone who doesn't travel? Absolutely not. But it also doesn't mean we have a lot of money. I will also add, not having kids in your 20s makes traveling a lot easier too.